Welcome to Cinema Recaps. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos. The film starts with David, who is making film posters on a stormy night. The storm is getting worse, so he takes his family to the basement. And in the morning, he's grateful for his decision because a tree fell and tore through one of the walls of his house. Even worse, David finds out that his boathouse got destroyed because his neighbor's tree fell on it during the storm. David goes to have a talk with his neighbor, Brent. Brent had a rough night as well, and his luxury car got smashed last night. David actually feels bad for him and offers him a ride into town because Brent needs a new chainsaw. Before he leaves, he notices a strange mist coming down from the mountains, but he thinks it's due to the strange weather. On their way to town, they pass by several army vehicles that are going at an alarming speed. At the mall, David finds pretty much the whole town trying to stock up food. Some young soldiers are also in the mall, and things are looking fishy. Suddenly, the sirens start blaring, and a man with a bloody nose runs into the mall, screaming that something is grabbing people inside the mist. The mist cloud is quickly approaching, and some people try to run for their cars, but they get swallowed, so everyone else just shuts the doors and hides inside the mall. They have no idea what's out there, and they decide to stay hidden. However, a woman wants to go home because her children are home alone. She begs everyone to accompany her, but they are way too scared, so she just curses them and leaves. David, on the other hand, is trying to comfort his son, Billy, who is worried about his mother's safety. David then leaves Billy in the hands of two elderly ladies and a young schoolteacher named Amanda, and goes to find some blankets. He goes to the storage area and sees that the generator is overheating, so he turns it off. He's walking back when all of a sudden, something pushes against the metal door. David gets scared and runs outside to find a store worker named Ollie and a mechanic named Jim. They all go back to check the generator and realize that the exhaust pipe is blocked. One of the younger workers named Norman wants to go out and open the pipe, but David doesn't want Norman to put himself in danger. He tries to stop him, but Jim tells him to stay the hell out of it, and Norman opens the door. To everyone's horror, some tentacles grab Norman and try to pull him out as David tries to save him. The giant tentacles drag Norman outside and tear him apart. David asks Ollie to turn on the generator, then he quickly shuts the door before slicing off a part of a tentacle. He's mad at Jim and punches him in the face for letting Norman risk his life like that. After this crazy encounter, David goes up to Brent and explains everything, but Brent thinks it's just a sick joke and that David is trying to make fun of him. David, on the other hand, tries to drag Brent to the storage area to show him the tentacle, and this causes a scene. Ollie gathers everyone and David tells them what happened, but obviously they don't believe him. So he takes some men with him to the storage area and shows them the tentacle. After this, most of the people start stacking large sacks along the glass walls to make a protective barrier. Brent and some other people are not willing to help him, while a religious fanatic named Mrs. Carmody is preaching some extremely creepy stuff. She is unhinged and claims that it is all God's will to test their faith and they have to spill blood to stay alive. Amanda has to slap her because she is scaring all the kids. That afternoon, David and others are discussing that they need weapons to protect themselves. That's when Amanda shows them a handgun that she keeps in her purse for protection, and Ollie grabs it because he knows how to handle it. They're still talking about it when they see Brent trying to leave with a lot of other people. He's hell-bent on going out and finding rescue. One of David's friends decides to go alongside Brent to grab a gun from his car and come back. He ties a rope around his waist and starts walking. But pretty soon, something grabs him and the rope starts slipping from David's hands. When the rope becomes limp, everyone starts pulling it, but they only find a piece of that man's body attached to the rope. At this point, everyone is scared to death. They know something is extremely wrong, and that night, a soldier named Jessup goes up to his childhood friend Sally to find some comfort. They start making out in the staff room and spend the night there. Outside, things become chaotic when some strange insects start swarming the glass. The insects are attracted to light, and pretty soon, some giant predators start attacking these insects. The glass is cracking, and all of a sudden, the wall breaks. The giant insects, along with the predators, enter the mall and it's panic everywhere. One insect stings Sally on her neck, and her head starts swelling up. The predator bird, on the other hand, takes down a man before David sets it on fire. He then chases after it and eventually smashes it with a wooden stick. However, another man tries to light up a torch but instead burns himself. The last predatory bird tries to attack Billy, but Ollie shoots it down. Unfortunately, the damage has been done because the next morning, 3 people are dead, including Sally. Meanwhile, the man who got burned is in critical condition, and David knows he has to find some medicine for the guy. So he plans to go to the next door pharmacy to find some medicine, and he also has a plan to leave in his Land Cruiser if things get worse. Billy tells his father that he shouldn't go, but David knows that he has to take this chance. As he's leaving, Mrs. Carmody tries to make a scene, but an old lady smashes her with a food can, and David leaves the store with everyone. They get to the pharmacy and find the required medicine, but they find something horrifying. Everyone inside the pharmacy is dead, and they are covered in the spiderweb. An army guy is one of the victims, but he's still alive, and he says that all of this is his fault. His entire body has been invaded by the spiders, and after looking at this, David and everyone try to run for their lives. The spiders attack them with acidic webs, but the people use fire to burn down the spiders and also stab others to save their lives. They get back to the mall screaming, and after getting inside, David passes out. When he comes back to his senses, he finds out that Mrs. Carmody has created a cult, and dozens of people, including Jim, now believe that she's a prophet trying to save their souls. She's preaching about sacrificing blood, and David knows he has to leave. But he remembers what the dying army guy said, so he goes to talk to Jessup about what was happening in the nearby base. They look for Jessup's friend and find the young soldiers hanging from the roof in the loading dock. Jessup says his friends thought that they caused all of this, and that's why they committed suicide. Jim hears all of this and grabs Jessup and drags him outside. He tells everyone that Jessup and everyone in the army are responsible for this carnage. Mrs. Carmody wants Jessup to be sacrificed, but he says that he was just a soldier and he doesn't know anything about this mist. He says that the army was trying to open an interdimensional pathway, and maybe that caused all of this, but he shouldn't be punished for it, and people start beating up the young man. David tries to save the young man, but there are too many crazy people in his way, so Ollie stops him. But Mrs. Carmody is bloodthirsty, and she orders her followers to take Jessup's life. So a guy stabs Jessup multiple times, and then they all carry him outside and throw him as a feast for the monsters. Jessup is begging for his life and smashing on the door when a giant monster grabs him and tears him apart. That night, Billy asks David to never let him get caught by one of those monsters, and David assures his son that he won't let that happen. The next morning, Amanda wakes David up, and Ollie tells them that supplies are ready and they have to get out now. David and his partners are at the door when he sees Mrs. Carmody sitting there with a knife. She says that she won't allow them to leave because it's against the will of God. She has a lot of followers, and David says that it is his right to go wherever he wants, but this makes her even angrier. She tells her followers that David and his partners should become the next sacrifices, especially his son Billy. This makes everyone on edge, and Mrs. Carmody starts screaming like a crazy woman to kill everyone. However, Ollie shoots her in the stomach and she goes silent. Ollie then shoots her in the head, and as soon as she dies, her followers lose their will to fight, and David leaves the mall with everyone. They are running for his car, but things are not going according to plan because Ollie gets caught by the giant monster, while the old man and the mechanic become victims of the spiders. The manager gets back to the mall while David gets in his car with Billy, Amanda, and 2 other people. He also manages to grab the gun from the hood, and pretty soon they're on the road driving for his house. However, he is heartbroken to see his dead wife hanging from the wall, covered in the spiderweb. David gets back on the road after a while, and everywhere they go, they just find death. They even come across a giant monster that's hundreds of feet high, and it passes in front of them without even noticing them. David keeps driving and driving until his car runs out of gas, and he has to stop on the side of the road. There is apparently no end to this mist, and David can hear the monsters in the vicinity. He knows that they have no chance of survival, so he starts counting the bullets, and he only has 4. In the end, after getting permission from everyone, he shoots all of them, including his son. He then starts crying after realizing what he has done. He doesn't even have a bullet to end his life, and he gets out of his car and starts calling for the monsters to finish him. You can hear something approaching, and he gets ready to meet his maker. But instead of the monsters, he finds army vehicles coming for him. The army is clearing all the monsters in the area, and it is also rescuing the survivors. David even sees the woman who went to meet up with her children among the survivors. The film ends with David falling to his knees, all the while wailing like a madman.